Morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you very much for being with us this Thursday. We are going to begin this morning with the Trump administration's latest moves in the Middle East. So the Pentagon has begun evacuating hundreds of U.S. troops from its largest airbase in the Middle East. That is located in Qatar. This is according to a U.S. official and a person familiar with the matter who said the troops are being moved to hotels and other facilities in the region in case any U.S. action against Iran triggers retaliation.
President Trump continues to weigh his options for potential military action in Iran as a response to the regime's deadly crackdown on protesters. Earlier this week, President Trump warned of, quote, very strong action if the regime continues its killing of protesters. But speaking to reporters yesterday, he claimed he was told the situation has changed.
We've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or executions. So I've been told that on good authority.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us now with more on this and some other headlines out of Washington. Julie, good morning. A lot to get to. Can you start by telling us more about the Pentagon's evacuation of troops from this airbase in Qatar? Will all troops stationed there be withdrawn from the base?
Yeah, Joe, good morning to you both. All troops are expected to be withdrawn, according to a source with knowledge of what is going on there. They're being moved to other facilities, hotels, basically getting out of harm's way. And it's not just the U.S. The Qataris are doing the same with their personnel, saying that they're trying to safeguard their residents. The U.K. closing their embassy earlier this week, trying to get everybody out of the area in preparation for potential action from the U.S., which we know we've been reporting on for the last couple of days. The president has been weighing. And if you look at what happened back in June when the U.S. attacked those nuclear sites in Iran, we did similar then. We moved our troops out of this same base. This is the largest base in the Middle East for the U.S. And at the same time, the Iranian leaders are warning the U.S. that they would retaliate and they would target military facilities and structures and our troops.
Do we know what options the president is considering for any potential military action against Iran?
Yeah, well, according to our sources that we spoke to yesterday, I spoke to someone familiar with what is happening right now. The president was expected to be briefed yesterday on a set of tailored military options. He essentially told his team what he's looking to accomplish. He wants whatever action the U.S. takes in Iran to be decisive. You'll recall that over the last couple of days, the president has been posting on Truth Social, making statements essentially enticing the protesters to stay in the streets and saying that help is on the way. This is something that the U.S. supports, the overthrowing of the regime there by the protesters, this kind of uprising. The U.S. wants to be supportive. And so the president is weighing a set of options. Heading into the week, they were not necessarily all military, but by this point, he wants to make sure that whatever the U.S. does in the area, that it is a decisive action. What that entails, when it could happen, is still an open question.
In the middle of all this yesterday, Senate Republicans blocked an effort to check President Trump's war powers. That's in Venezuela, after the president applied some pressure to some Republicans who are maybe considering this. Which senators were persuaded by Mr. Trump and why?
Yeah, the president, I reported, guys, earlier this week, called up all 5 Republican senators who first voted in a procedural vote to limit his future actions in Venezuela. 2 of those senators, Senators Todd Young of Indiana and Josh Hawley of Missouri, they actually changed their mind because yesterday the Republican-led Senate decided to take a move that would essentially dismiss and throw out this war powers resolution. And that's exactly what happened because these 2 senators flipped their vote. J.D. Vance, the vice president, came in and broke a tie. Senators Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Rand Paul of Kentucky, they still voted with Democrats to limit the president's power. When I asked Lisa Murkowski why she did that, she said because Congress needs to reaffirm its Article I powers, which she feels like it slipped its grip on over the last couple of years.
Julie, Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, expected to be in Washington later today. What is on her agenda?
Well, she has a busy schedule. There are some security concerns, so things could still be in flux. She's set to meet with the president, which is going to be a really important meeting. I recall that when the Maduro operation first happened, I was in Mar-a-Lago, and President Trump dismissed her leading the country outright, essentially saying that he doesn't think that the people of Venezuela will accept her. You'll remember that her coalition won. They got the most votes in 2024, even though Maduro then stayed on as president. She feels like she could lead the country now, so she's going to meet with the president as well as potentially discussing the Nobel Peace Prize that was presented to her. She has said that she would give it to the president, although the committee has said that's not possible. And then, guys, she's expected to meet with lawmakers on Capitol Hill. I reported late last night that she's set to meet with a bipartisan group of senators this afternoon. There's a meeting in the House that is being worked out as well. But again, there are concerns about her security, so those meetings could be in flux.
All right, Julie, a lot to cover this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, officials from Denmark and Greenland are pushing back on President Trump's Arctic ambitions for the territory, expressing that it is not for sale. They met with administration officials yesterday at the White House and said they have a different opinion from the president about who should control Greenland, but indicated they are open to expanding the U.S. military footprint. NBC News Washington reporter Alice Barr joins us now with more on this. Hi, Alice. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. As top officials in Greenland said clearly they will not be owned by the United States. Recent polling shows more than 8 in 10 of Americans surveyed oppose taking the territory by force, something President Trump has not ruled out. This morning, diplomatic divisions over the fate of Greenland, the Danish territory that President Trump insists the U.S. must control.
We need Greenland for national security.
The president has made his view clear, and we have a different position.
Foreign ministers from Denmark and Greenland meeting at the White House with Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who says President Trump would prefer to buy the massive island territory, a proposition that could cost as much as $700 billion, according to 3 people familiar with the estimate. Denmark, a NATO ally, insists its territory is not for sale. President Trump has not ruled out military force, citing what he views as a threat from other major powers.
The problem is there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland, but there's everything we can do.
It is not a true narrative that we have, Chinese warships all around the place.
On Capitol Hill, lawmakers in both parties speaking out against military action in Greenland, calling it
the most serious national geopolitical mistake this country could make,
while endorsing the power of alliances and the U.S. military presence already in place in Greenland to secure the Arctic.
The not smart, unachievable way is whoever told the president that this was a viable path. It doesn't make sense.
Among Greenland's population of roughly 57,000, mounting anxiety as leaders promise to keep talking. The president's push to take over Greenland is raising real concerns among European allies. But just before Wednesday's meeting, the president posted that NATO becomes far more formidable and effective with Greenland in the hands of the United States, and that anything less than that is unacceptable. Savannah?
All right. Thank you very much, Alice.
In Minneapolis, the family of Renee Good is speaking out for the first time since she was shot and killed by an ICE officer just 1 week ago. The fallout from her death continues to escalate on the ground. Once again, protesters clash with federal agents over the immigration operations taking place in the Twin Cities. Overnight, one man was shot in the leg by a federal agent during an attempted stop. It's a sign that tensions on both sides are still mounting. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster is in Minneapolis with the latest. Shaq, good morning.
Good morning. Well, the situation here in Minneapolis just continues to intensify. Yesterday was a day that started with a prayer vigil here, that started with school walkouts honoring 1 week since the death of Renee Nicole Good, but it ended with yet another shooting involving federal officers. This time DHS saying that federal officers were engaging in a targeted traffic stop trying to obtain a man who was here illegally from Venezuela. They say this man then tried to flee and got in a struggle with a federal officer who they also say was ambushed, in their words, by 2 people who came out of a nearby apartment and hit this officer with a shovel and a broomstick. They say that this subject also engaged in that attack, and then this officer shot this man in the leg. Now, that, of course, sparked another round of clashes, another round of chaos. Protesters throwing ice, throwing fireworks at officers, federal officers, and local law enforcement. Police chief declaring an emergency situation, telling protesters to go home. We saw tear gas, pepper spray, those shock grenades, and those flash grenades. It was a chaotic scene in another Minneapolis neighborhood. Now, all of this is coming after we heard from the family in their first extensive statement, the family of Renee Nicole Good, who called her a beautiful life. I spoke with her family attorney just yesterday. He told us he's considering a civil lawsuit and is calling on a transparent investigation, all as the situation just continues to intensify here in the city of Minneapolis. Back to you.
Jack, thank you.
Well, a government contractor accused of illegally obtaining classified material is due to appear in a federal court today for a detention hearing. The contractor was identified as a Navy veteran who works for the Pentagon. He's alleged to have been collecting information related to a foreign country. 2 federal law enforcement officials say the country in question was Venezuela.
The case is tied to yesterday's FBI raid on the home of Washington Post reporter Hannah Natanson. Attorney General Pam Bondi alleges Natanson, quote, obtained and reported classified and illegally leaked information from a Pentagon contractor. But the paper says Natanson was not the target of the investigation and has not been charged with any crime. This case is raising concerns about the constitutional protections of the free press.
NBC News senior justice reporter Ryan Riley joins us now, along with our legal analyst Danny Savalos. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for being with us. Ryan, I will begin with you, and let's start on that raid. Tell us a bit about Natanson and her work. Was it that she'd written something about Venezuela, and how and why this operation unfolded yesterday?
Yeah, she wrote a story, actually, that explains, I think, a lot of the background for this. She wrote a piece about how she became the government whisperer, essentially, for the Washington Post, because she had posted on Reddit some of her signal contact information, and ended up getting hundreds, over 1,000, in fact, contacts from federal government workers, and was in communication with a lot of them frequently. And because of the way Signal works, it's end-to-end encrypted, meaning that you can only get the content of the information by having the physical phone. So while in the past there's been Justice Department scandals over DOJ seizing information that's either on the cloud or they get from third parties, in this instance, this is a real sort of red line, because you're talking about physically going into and searching a journalist's home, and that's what had to happen here. But that's what happened here. But the content of that information, I think, is like the important part there, because the only way to get that information would be to do these sort of physical searches. But obviously, there's been a lot of outrage from the journalistic community about this sort of raid. It's a really big escalation in the Justice Department and the Trump administration's sort of war against journalists in many ways, because you see in this instance that they've been attacking the free press, calling them fake news for a while, and now you have this escalation that goes far beyond what we've seen in the past from the Justice Department.
Danny, let's talk about some of that outrage. This raid is raising a lot of concerns among free press advocates and news organizations. They're worried about eroding constitutional protections for journalists. I mean, could this raid be seen as a potential violation of the First Amendment, of free speech? Just how do you assess it from a legal standpoint?
Since 1990, federal law and federal regulations, including DOJ regulations, have expressed a statutory and regulatory preference for not using search warrants in the case of reporters, or more particularly newsrooms. It's maybe a slightly different analysis when you're raiding a reporter's home. But in the modern era, someone's home is their office, because everything we think about and write about is on our devices, not necessarily at a cubicle in some newsroom. So that in the past, when this has occurred, there have been challenges to the search warrant. So we can expect that these might be judicially challenged.
We like our guest star, Danny. The shaking of the head. Oh, she just wants to be picked up. Hello. Ryan, let's bring you back in here. Tell us about the Pentagon contractor who is now in custody. What is he being accused of by the government?
Yeah, so the Pentagon contractor is making his first appearance in Baltimore today in federal court. The government obviously wants to hold him, and their argument has essentially been that while they might have gotten the actual physical documents or information that he had in his possession, that their argument was almost quotable here. It was that they can't protect what's inside his head, meaning that all of the classified information that he knew is not something that they can really stop from getting out out there in some manner. So that's their argument for keeping this individual detained. But we're going to hear more about this case as it builds out at that hearing in Baltimore today.
Oh, and Danny, we do have one more question for you. So let's just talk about this case against the contractor. How strong is the government's case against this person? What are prosecutors going to need to do to prove allegations?
It's going to be a relative, well, I don't want to say an easy case, but this is the kind of case that if they can create the digital paper trail, it's going to be a case that is provable. And the reality is most federal cases result in a conviction. So this is not looking good for this defendant.
Danny, to your point about work, not just at the cubicles. There you go. You're working, Dad. We appreciate it, like the little bedhead in the corner. Thanks, guys.
Thank you both. All right, accused actor Timothy Busfield is now facing another allegation of sexual abuse. Busfield made his first court appearance yesterday in connection to separate sexual abuse charges in New Mexico. Those allegations were made by two child actors. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin has the latest.
You will continue to be held without bond.
West Wing star Timothy Busfield in an orange jumpsuit, appearing stoic next to guards as a new allegation of sexual abuse surfaces. This time, a 16-year-old girl whose father says several years ago, Busfield allegedly kissed her and put his hands down her pants during an audition. According to court documents, Busfield allegedly begged the family not to report him to police if he received therapy. NBC News reached out to Busfield for comment and has not received a response. Busfield making his first court appearance from a New Mexico jail on child sex abuse charges, alleged by two brothers, both actors on set of The Cleaning Lady. And new video from the Daily Mail Plus shows heavily armed U.S. Marshals ramming the door of Busfield's upstate New York home Tuesday, moments after he turned himself in to Albuquerque police. He had been wanted since Friday. His attorney says he was never on the run, but driving cross-country to New Mexico. According to court documents, the now 11-year-olds told their parents and therapist Busfield, who they called Uncle Tim, rubbed and touched one brother's genitalia when he was 7, the abuse lasting 2 years. The Emmy Award-winning actor yet to enter a plea, his lawyer maintaining the claims are not true. Busfield this week telling TMZ,
"They're all lies, and I did not do anything to those little boys, and I'm going to fight it."
Busfield will remain in jail until his next court appearance, likely next week, where a judge will decide if he's eligible for release.
All right, Dana Griffin, thank you so much.
Well, 4 NASA astronauts are back on Earth this morning after an emergency medical evacuation from the International Space Station.
Overnight, the team splashed down into the Pacific Ocean just off the California coast near San Diego. NASA ordered them home early because one of them is experiencing a serious medical situation.
NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello, of course, covers NASA. He covers space. He has been following this closely. Tom, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. 3:41 a.m. Eastern time was when they splashed down there off the coast of San Diego. And immediately, as you would expect, the SpaceX recovery team, the ship moved in, picked them up, all 4 astronauts, literally taken right onto the ship inside their spaceship. And then each one of them brought out of their spaceship, put on a helicopter, and then they were flown over to San Diego. So at this hour, you guys, they are in a hospital there in San Diego, spending the night, getting some much-needed rest, and also a quick evaluation there before they then later today are going to fly on to Houston. But there you see them, each one of them coming out of their spaceship and getting an evaluation. So as you know, the crew includes the commander is Zena Cardman. And she's the Crew 11 commander. Michael Fink is the pilot of this mission. He became the space station commander, but of course he had to relinquish command when they left. You've also got a Japanese astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut, all safely now back on Earth on this unprecedented situation in which NASA literally decided to evacuate them from the space station, ending their mission early. Never before has NASA medically evacuated a crew member or members because of a medical situation, cutting short a mission.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, Verizon, you are back online today after a widespread outage impacted cell data and voice services for most of the day Wednesday. A Verizon spokesperson said the company, quote, let many of our customers down and apologize for the outage. Impacted customers will get account credits. Verizon is the nation's largest wireless service with more than 146 million customers. The company suggests if you're still having an issue today to turn your device off and then turn it back on, which is the fix for everything.
So true, no matter the device. All right, time now for weather and the return of frigid temperatures across the country today.
Yeah, meteorologist Angie Lastman is tracking it all for us. Angie, good morning.
Guys, if I could turn off the weather and turn it back on and get you some better temperatures than this, I would. Unfortunately, not the case. We are stuck in the freezer for a lot of folks this morning. A bit of a whiplash when you consider where we've been for days and days with those warmer than normal temperatures. Not the case this morning. Notice where we're currently sitting. 1 degree for what it feels like in Chicago. We've got 2 degrees for Erie. Parts of essentially the northern plains in the Midwest looking at sub-zero wind chill values right now. In single digits really extending across parts of the Appalachians and all the way down to parts of the Midwest. And even the teens is what you're going to feel like as you get out the door in Atlanta. So you get the picture. All of that cold air kind of spilling in for the eastern third of the country. We've got temperatures even into the afternoon hours barely making it into the 20s for Pittsburgh. Mid-20s for Asheville. Running way below normal for Savannah. And even kind of cooler than normal temperatures settling in for Tampa. You get just 61 degrees for your high temperature today. Of course, these numbers not typical. We will start to get back to more normal averages here as we get into tomorrow for most. But notice the far eastern parts hugging the East Coast are still going to see temperatures on the cooler side. So just 39 degrees in Washington, D.C. tomorrow and 33 for Boston, even at 50 degrees in Charleston. You might want to check on your friends in Miami. 69 degrees. That's the temperature that they're going to get for their high tomorrow. Again, below normal. Meanwhile, we're going to start to see another reinforcing shot of cold air kind of slide in as we get into the end of our weekend and into early next week. So notice we do kind of rebound in some of these spots. We're going to get back to those double-digit temperatures on Saturday and Sunday for Minneapolis, but single digits for Monday. That is a high temperature, not the wind chill. That's an actual high temperature in Minneapolis. We'll see the teens across parts of Michigan and Indianapolis, 20s in Buffalo, and then even Philadelphia kind of flirting with freezing as we round out the weekend and head into our upcoming week. So feeling a lot like winter. Currently, we've also got some wind alerts that are up across parts of the plains. Notice how much of that section of the country they stretch. And we're looking at the potential for 40, 50, 60 plus mile per hour peak gusts as we get through at least Friday. So Rapid City, you can see Huron, Ainsworth, Goodland, all seeing those high those high levels of wind here as we get through the next couple of days. So heads up there. We've still got some winter alerts that are in effect for interior areas of the Northeast, as well as along the Great Lakes and the Appalachians, too. So a total of 9 million people. And here's why. A bit of that rain farther to the east and a bit of that snow, especially focused along parts of the Great Lakes. And we're going to keep that going through the day today. So that first system that we've been keeping an eye on, that is moving into New England today and kind of will be moving out. But notice back to the west, we've got this next Clipper system. We've kind of had a parade of Clipper systems, those fast-moving winter storms that dip out of Canada and leave us with some additional snowfall. So if you live in the Great Lakes today, you're waking up to some snow. Places like Detroit, you'll get out the door. Lots of schools are canceled there. But that next Clipper system is going to bring a new dose of snow to the upper Midwest as we get through the day today. And then again, we'll have kind of a repeat of these heavy bands of lake effect snow across that same region. So travel going to be difficult. We'll see low visibilities as well with some additional wind across that region. And you can see we see that snow stretching all the way down to the Appalachians. By the time this is all said and done, which is really going to be through the weekend because we've got multiple systems that we're tracking, notice those highest amounts. No surprise, they are downwind of the lakes, but we could see upwards of 5, 6, even more than 8 inches in some of these locations. So Watertown, Buffalo, Grand Rapids, all going to get a new fresh dose of some snow here over the next couple of days. So feeling like winter for sure. Remember those 50 and 60 degree temperatures we were talking about just days ago? Those are long gone, guys.
I also like how we're getting as much snow as people well south of here.
Yes.
Pretty much
I know. New York City, everybody that is a snow lover in New York City, I think Savannah's one of them, has been waiting for additional snow. We just really don't just
head to North Carolina.
Or the upper peninsula of Michigan.
There
They've
you
got
go.
plenty.
The Yoopers know what it's like. All right.
Thank you.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.